Welcome to another episode of the Bhandwagon podcast. And today is carrying on the tradition of overseas guests, and especially around North America. Without further ado, these two guys in their own individual careers are just probably at the beginning of their trajectory going up. And I wanted to kind of catch them on now before it's going to get harder to. So I've got Vasu and Karn who have joined me. Welcome to the Bhandwagon podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks, man.
How's things over that? So what I will say, having I've never had two guests on at the same time like this in one shot. So that you've definitely done a first.
Yeah. We're like, it'll be easier instead of having two different cameras on here. Might as well be in the same room. Make it all easier for everyone.
So what's the best way of how you would describe yourself in introducing yourself to the audience?
Yeah, I go by the name of Vasu-V, and I've been doing music from now 5 years. And me and Karn been releasing music from now 1.5 years, and we dropped like around 25 tracks in the last 1.5 years. We've been working hard on it, and obviously people are liking over here.
Yeah, then I'm Karn, so I'm the producer for all our tracks. So yeah, like you said, we released a ton of music here. We're born from Surrey, been working with a bunch of artists from here. We got our team like Amar, so we've just been working with everyone, and
yeah.
When you're starting out like in your pathway, what did you find the sort of challenges and the best parts of it at the moment? Why did you want to go down this pathway to start off with?
Like the only challenge what I found when I thought of I want to be I would say just finding the right team or finding the right people around you. I would say like the positive mindset people who actually have ambitions to go and achieve something. So me getting with the Karn was I would say the greatest thing I would say would have happened, so that we have a same vision what we want to do as in Punjab in the Punjabi music scene. And my main challenge was to just find the right people around me who can work accordingly the same pace.
Yeah, and then for me, like I just started just having just fun with my friends, right? Like we would just be playing games on like Xbox and just like freestyling while we're playing games. And then it just got to a point when like we started meeting up in person, we started doing the same thing too, right? But like I wasn't like much of a rapper, so I was like, let me just get on this side of things, like the producing side. So then I guess the challenge was really just learning everything, because like I didn't really have anyone teaching me anything. Just went on YouTube, so we just figured everything out, and then that was like the main challenge for sure.
The reason why I kind of raised up the challenge because I want to kind of start the story out where, like Vasu, like your name is fairly unique. How did you come up with that name?
My name is like Vasu, but I just added V because I really like the rapper Eazy-E.
Yeah.
So his name was Easy, Eric Wright, and he named it Eazy-E, and he used to like him a lot. So I was like, okay, mine is Vasu, so I just put it that way, Vasu-V, and then I'll have a unique name, out of the box.
So how did you get into music to start off with? Like, you're not originally from Canada though, are you coming from?
Yeah, I'm from India. I came in Canada like 10 years ago as a student over here. And then but I used to learn music back in the school in India, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਸਤਾਦ ਜੀ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਸਿੱਖਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ music. And then but I used to write music too, but ਮੈਂ ਕਦੀ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਖਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਗਾਣੇ ਲਿਖਦਾ ਵੀ ਆ, because I was too shy to actually show it to everybody ਕਿ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਲੱਗੂਗਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ. But when I actually started showing and singing my own lyrics to people, and then they started liking it, and then I was like, no, this is actually good and I should pursue this thing. And फिर मैं आके थे I met DJ Goddess, and she helped me in my early start pushing me. And then I met DJ HMD, and then HMD's nephew is one of our team's member, Arsh. And then Arsh knows Karn, so that's how then I get connected to Karn, and then we eventually started releasing more tracks.
And how did you, and then from your side, Karn, like how did you kind of connect together? Was it like producers are a very difficult skill in terms of like you've got a vision in terms of what a writer might have. You might have a vision in terms of what a singer might have. In this case with Vasu, he's them both. And then you've got your idea when you're producing something. How do you kind of work together, and what were your plans of becoming a producer? Was that the main goal to start off with?
Well, like I said, like just really like the whole music thing, it all just started just just having fun. Like I didn't really know that I was just gonna be doing this like how I'm doing it now, like we're just just having fun, just doing our thing. And then just with like Vasu, I guess it's really just like I'm just always just playing on beats, and then he just finds his lyrics, whatever, and then he goes on top, and then we just adjust whatever we need to adjust, right? So just it is like really, it's really some weird sometimes looking back at it. Like when I fully started all this, like I didn't think like I'd be here like doing this what I'm doing right now, but it just everything just aligned perfectly. And then even like when I remember the first time I met Vasu in the studio, like I was like even saying to him like, yo, I'm gonna send you beats, I'm gonna do all this, right? But I didn't end up sending him anything till like 2, maybe like 3 years later, right? Because like I wasn't even at the level where I felt like, oh, I should be sending all this stuff, right? So once I took it serious, then I said we connected, and now like we're just making music every day.
The North America scene especially has seen a massive spike in terms of the amount of music that's come out in the last sort of 5 years. How did you feel any pressure individually first in terms of like looking at what the competition was doing?
To me, I feel like we guys are don't compare us to anybody else out there. So for us, it's just basically we releasing a unique sound what we guys have of our own. Jida sade ਦੋਨਾਂ ਦਾ music ਕਾਫੀ unique. We not copying anybody. We don't want anybody to see, oh, these guys are copying these guys, oh, they sounding like these one. So ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਕੋਈ competition ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ, but yeah, obviously pressure ਇਹ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਧੀਆ music ਕਰੀਏ. It should be a quality music rather than we drop like 10 tracks in a month. We don't want to do that. We might drop like one track in maybe 6 weeks, but it should be a quality music कि लोग एक बार सुन के ना कहन भी ठीक है चलो आगे चलिए. They should come back and back and back at it. So pressure is basically just release a quality music, and competition it just apne naal hi hai competition. We just want to be better, keep doing better every time.
Yeah, and then even for me, like I don't really look at it as a competition too much, like because I just love music too, right? So for me, it's more like just inspiration. Like so, like with Icky, like when it comes to producing, like I love his work, right? So for me, it's just like okay, I want to keep growing, and in hopes that okay, now we can start working with them in the future, and just like have like everyone in like the North American scene just kind of working together, and we can all just grow, and just more just inspiration, just enjoying everyone's work, right?
And even North America, even UK, rap Spira is killing it, man. That guy's, that guy's the vibe right now. So we looking forward to actually collaborate with everybody in the future who are actually doing quality music, who are real lovers of music, I would say, real artists.
Yeah, same with like Money Sandhu, like he's always killing in the producer scene out there. Like, like these are just the names like we're always looking at, like, just always just inspiration for us.
Yeah, I mean, not in a negative way, but you paint a very rosy picture. Like, there's unity and everything's nice and that. But we know the politics behind it can be very difficult. And especially if you're young and you're new into the game, you'll have some people opening the doors for you and some people shutting the doors. I mean, like, we've got 1 or 2 new acts in the UK and, they can dominate the scene. There's not that much competition here. So that's why names can be branded around and say, yeah, they're doing this and doing that, but there's not that much competition. Whereas in North America, especially, and in India, you've got new competition coming out every week. Potentially, there's so much talent in the pool round there. I mean, that's what I was trying to say in terms of like, even though you two individually might be, yeah, this is the kind of songs that I want to do, you still know that you have to be on your toes, you have to be ready to kind of produce that. How does that work ethic continue between yourselves?
I guess mostly like we kind of just keep working together, stick as a team, keep our heads on straight. Like we see all this stuff that goes on too, so it's kind of we're like we pay attention to everything. So it's not, we're not gonna just like go in with like our heads down, whatever. Like we still pay attention to everything, make sure like even like if we're working with anyone that it is the right people, like really like the unity type of thing too is like we all want to be like a family in a way, right? So it's like I want to really like so we want to work with people who we know like we can have like that family type of relationship. It's not so if we see like okay, this is kind of moving, you know, whatever, then maybe we might know like that's not gonna be the best decision, right? So yeah, there's like a lot of stuff coming up, and even like planning our releases as well. Like if we see like okay, yeah, there's some artists out here that are releasing on this weekend, then it's like maybe we should wait till the next weekend and try to just plan out specific weekends for us, right?
If you guys are aware of what you guys are doing at the end of the day, and Hamesha meri te karan di like every day we guys talk and we listen new music. This is coming, or we have to do something different. Okay, da gana aa gaya je ਸਾਡਾ ਵੀ ਗਾਣਾ ਕੋਈ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ we like okay ਇਹਨੂੰ ਰੋਕ ਲੈਣੇ ਆ we'll release it maybe later on. You don't want to be sound like everybody else right now, and so ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ at the end of the day ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਗਾਣੇ ਜੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਆ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗੂਗੇ. If the song is good, people are gonna play, people are gonna like it, people are gonna support you more for the more songs up which you're gonna release in the future. ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਇਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਵੀ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਗਾਣਾ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਆ, ਕਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਵਧੀਆ, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ, because that's I guess most important too these days.
Yeah, and like he said, like like we don't really stress it too much either, like because it's just like if you do get really deep into it, then like you're gonna fall into that trap of just holding on and like never putting your music out either, right? So same time it is better just putting it out, and like you said, like if it's good music, it's good music, right?
So when you like giving us an example of how you two would work together, what comes first? Is it the beats, the lyrics, or the like? Obviously everything comes from an idea, but when you're trying to execute the idea, how would you two work?
So with me, I just keep writing music. Free time hunda hai ja koi mainu time milda, so maybe I'm at home main likhda rehna hai, or write maybe 5-6 songs, and then Karn apna kam karda rehna roz da, and then fir assi maybe like 4 times in a week assi mil hi lene ek duje nu, and when I'll come to his home in the studio, he'll play me, okay, yo, I made this beat, see if you can get on it. So main likhya hunda kuch, and then it just happens so naturally. Son with kise vele Karan studio beat bananda hunda main right pe likh dina gana, so that happened too. But mostly idda hunda ki main to likhya hunda hai and Karan kol beat hundi hai pehle. He play the beat to me, and mainu lagda ki okay aa gana theek lagda pya, I'll try different songs, like I'll try maybe 2 or 3 songs in one beat, okay, which one actually sounding way better. Idda nahi vi ek gana vadiya laga vi mainu idda laga ki ha main kar sakda, no, I will actually search out for the right song, the right lyrics, for the right beat pattern, I would say. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਠੀਕ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ.
And Vasu, when you were talking about writing, especially, like is there a particular process that you do with writing? So like some people might have dedicated time where they'll say, I'm going to write at this point, or they'll have an idea or a certain place they'll go to get inspiration. Like, how do you know what's topical or not? Because it's very, we went through the gangster rap phase. I would say it's kind of closing a little bit, where everything was about guns and cars and G-Wagons and all that shit. Like now, is that still the same kind of vibe that you're doing, or what's the kind of the next sort of wave that you would go on?
So to me, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਕਦੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਰਿਲੀਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ, ਬਹੁਤ ਜੇ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਰਿਲੀਜ਼ ਗਾਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਅੱਧਾ ਹੀ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਊਗਾ, because that was popping maybe back in the days.
Yeah.
And I would have done it, but to me, I like to write what I am going through, what I'm living. And I basically try to write everything into the R&B and pop genre, because I feel that's the genre which is gonna take over right now, because like you said, gangster rap things are closing a little bit, and everybody's try to release more type of R&B songs. But yeah, ਪਹਿਲੇ ਦਿਨ ਤੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਐਲਬਮ ਸੀ ਬ੍ਰੋਕਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਮਿਸਿਸ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਗਾਣੇ ਸਾਡੇ R&B ਇੱਕੋ ਹੀ ਗਾਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ, and that was not even about guns. That was a hype song, I would say, but that was not like a gun type of song. But yeah, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ R&B ਤੇ pop genre ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ focus ਕਰੀਏ. ਵੈਸੇ ਤਾਂ versatility ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆ ਵੀ at the same time we want to tell people that we guys are versatile on every kind of genre, but our main focus is to just be ourselves into the music. I would say if you're being yourself, copying anybody and nobody can copy you, right? And the writing ethics for me is I don't really push it too much. I don't really force it. And I have to find a time to actually write it down. It's so natural. I feel truly blessed. And even if sometimes I'm at my work and then I'll just take a break and you'll have a line coming in my mind and I'll just write it down. It's so natural. I don't really push it that much.
Very good. And in like with your process with other like current like obviously if a writer or us was coming there and says I've got this idea, how do you sometimes like let him down and say I don't think that's gonna work, or do you say do you put a weaker beat on it just to kind of put him off?
No, I just straight up tell them like so it's like I'm always gonna find like if I kind of have a feeling like like before I even play him a beat like it might be whatever, I'll still find them like the hardest beats and be like, okay, let's try to make this work. Like we're not gonna give up on the idea right away, right? Because sometimes in your head it's gonna be like, it might not work, but then now when the whole thing is together, you got like a crazy song out of it, right? But it's like if now we're recording and I know it's like okay, it's whatever. I'll just straight up say like I don't care, right? Just be like, this isn't it. Just save the lyrics. We'll find a different beat. We'll do whatever, and like let's just move on to the next one and just keep working, right? And then Vasu the same way with my beats. Like if he's trying to go on a beat, but nah, this beat's not it, then we'll just go to the next one, right? I feel like we don't take it too hard, like my beat's not good, or he doesn't take it as hard, like like the lyrics or whatever, they're not good. Like we just know that okay, this just isn't the vibe right now. Let's just move on and let's just make a banger out of it, right?
Yeah, and I feel like I think that works well with us, working together. मैंने सदा कह दिंदा है okay, नहीं बढ़िया लगदा पिया. Maybe change your composition, change your lyrics or change your flows a little bit. And कई बार मैंने लगदा ਹੁੰਦਾ भी ਸਾਰੇ गाने ਵਧੀਆ ਆਪਾਂ record ਕਰਦੇ ਪਏ ਆ. So Karn's the one who will decide at the end, okay, you know what, man, it's actually sounding good, but this is not the vibe, so we should change a beat. So to me, man, jala hype ho jana. I'm like, oh yeah, you know what, man, this is pretty good. But he'll be like, oh no, let's change a beat. So at the end of the day, Karan jada us change dekh lenda.
I want to ask a very unfair question, if I'm honest. Yeah. And your young producers and singers and writers here, and predominantly your songs and the beats from the song, the instruments within it are not necessarily sort of South Asian instruments. It's all kind of Western beats, let's say. Like, how conscious are you then for like trying to promote the culture outside of with the lyrics, with the music? Do you see in the future where you can bring in a tabla, a dolki, or anything like that, or is it always just going to be like this, or is that because what the audience wants now, in your opinion?
Well, I feel like so. Just for me, like I make these style beats because it's like this is the music I've always listened to. Like I love trap music and all that, right? But we're really hard where we still want to keep in like the cultural element. So like when you hear Vasu's like compos and all that, like we still want to keep it so you can hear all the cultural things and it's still familiar in that way. And then when it comes to like the instruments, like we always talk about it, like when you're gonna see our live shows, like you're gonna see like some of our hype songs, like now there is gonna be like Dhols over it, and so we are gonna bring all those instruments in for that type.
Yeah.
But just for like the audios, like we still just try to keep like this type of sound in there. And it's like who knows, like we never know, like the next one it could just be us is bringing all this stuff in too, right? Because we don't really keep anything capped. We just kind of just go with the flow.
Yeah. That's what I'm gonna say. Ki ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ right now culture ਇਹੀ ਆ ਵੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ beats ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪਸੰਦ ਆ. Be honest, everybody likes to listen beat because that's how the culture is growing. And living worldwide, I would say everywhere people like to listen beats at some point. But having said that, ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਵਾਂਗੇ same type of urban sound ਹੀ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ. It's a process, I would say. When people are too into the urban type of sound, we might release bhangra song with the dhol on it, with the tabla on it in the next 2 years. But it's a process. So me being honest, I try to compose every song very, very authentically very ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਗਾਣੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੁਰਾਣੀਆਂ ਕੰਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਗਜ਼ਲਸ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪਸੰਦ ਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਟਰੈਪ ਸੌਂਗਸ ਤੇ ਗਜ਼ਲਸ ਕੰਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਾਂ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਉਂਗੀਆਂ ਆਉਣ ਵਾਲੇ 1-2 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਦਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ yeah we will do songs on a bhangra type of beats but as of now looking now everybody like beats so we don't even want to go too much outdated that people ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਗਾਣੇ ਪਸੰਦ ਨਾ ਆਣ right you just want to go with what's going on with the vibe and yeah ਜਦੋਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਸੰਦ ਆਣੇ ਲੱਗ ਪਏ ਗਾਣੇ and then we will push it to the more ਆਪਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਨ ਕਲਚਰ ਆ ਢੋਲ ਵਾਲਾ because ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ people might not feel our music you know what I mean
and it's crazy too all these like trap beats like it's the sound is so similar to like our sound you know what I mean like so it's like the 808s and like the hats like really like it sounds like it is kind of like a Dhol playing in a way right so like Amar always says it to me like bro this drum pattern is crazy like it actually sounds like a Dhol right and it's like I used to play Dhol as a kid so like I always be like oh maybe from there like that's why you can hear a little bit of similarities but it's just like even when you deep like other people's music like in like the North American like industry like you listen to some Future songs and you hear like these trap beats like you can take those drum patterns and like it actually sounds like it is like some of our like Dhol patterns you know like it's crazy
the reason is because I've recently been over in Canada back there shortly and you know the choice of music especially what the youngsters were I'll say youngsters like the new gen were kind of listening to and there was a lot of UK rap within it I definitely felt that the gap between the countries in terms of music it was getting a lot smaller but you're in an influential phase in terms of like where those musical sounds and doing that but I did feel the pressure that if you're a new artist that this is the kind of sound that people want as well at the same time so like I understand the you know the predicament within there but if you're like a desi head like me sometimes you're like oh okay I'm like I need to kind of learn to adapt the different sound and styles as well so like when you're putting together a set of releases are you audience driven or just you two
no audience driven for sure so like our last album Rooh like so before Rooh we had like some hype songs we put out and then we look back and now we're looking at what we've released and like our top song is Fantasy so we're like now let's put a project like Rooh that has some of those like similar romantic vibes to it right
but
and
isn't that
like
frustrating though like for example sometimes a lot of when you got an artist comes out a lot of their best stuff is always their early stuff right as they go on later they experiment and they do what they want to do and then it always kind of it just drops off a little bit so like do you ever get frustrated because you've got to sing the song you've got to play the song you got to design do you ever want to get to a stage where you're like I just want to release what we want to do because that might have the authenticity longer rather than the audience
I feel like we've been releasing everything though that like we want to release like so far like to this point where it's like all the music we're making it truly is like everything that like we're proud of right like there's nothing like where anything feels forced for us like we're really big on that like we want to make sure like we're still having fun we're still putting our like ourselves into this art right and then like the frustrating part for me is I wish like every song we've made I can just release it that's just you know like the planning part is like the frustrating part for me just like you know I wish like when the song is done in the studio like we can just go out we don't have to worry about marketing and doing all this stuff right
the audience ਪਰ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ even ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਲਿਖਦਾ ਆ ਗਾਣੇ you know I write about me my life and ਜਿੰਨੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਦੋਸਤ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਲਾਈਫ ਬਾਰੇ ਲਿਖਦਾ but I like to connect myself with the audience anything what I write so everything is actually audience driven but having said that we guys are satisfied with what we guys are putting out either it's R&B or it's a hype track but looking at it right now our statistics of the songs like Fantasy R&B pop gana siga so we decided like Karn said ki sanu hype gana nahi on karna chahida because we released too many hype songs but that's the only one we released last year was at the top on the iTunes you know mala the Spotify te vi 7000 play ude hoye and then releasing Rooh it was the greatest thing I think kafi lokan nu pasand aayi I think
what was the I mean you've mentioned a couple of songs already and then you know a lot of the people listening or watching this will be kind of fairly new to your work. What was the turning point for you where you got feedback where it changed for you? What was the song or the release that changed the way that you were received?
Oh,
But fantasy probably, I think so. Because fantasy, I feel it is just a really different song. Like even when I made that beat, I remember like I was just calling Vasu like all day, like you have to come to the studio, you have to come, you have to do something on this, right? And then like we made it, and like right away we knew it was special. Like we were supposed to put a different song out. Like we had that song out, mastered everything, you know, we were planning that release, but then we made this one and we just completely forgot about that song and we put fantasy out, right? And then when fantasy came out, everyone was just saying like, yo, this is the song, like this is crazy. So then from there, that's a really kind of like changed it for us. So we were like, now we should probably
this
start
is the kind of
focusing on
sound
that.
we guys want to focus on, because this is different. This is what people dig into it. ज़्यादा पसंद आंदा पे लोकां नूं ये करदे हैं. So after that we released couple of 5 songs, but then we come back with an album Rooh, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੇ ਗਾਣੇ R&B and pop ਆ. ਅਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਿਆ ਸੀ ਕੋਈ hype ਗਾਣਾ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ album ਵਿੱਚ, then we decided no, you know what, let's just push into a one genre and let's see how people react to it. And it's pretty good. Spotify, Apple, everywhere people are liking it, receiving a lot of messages, be like, oh wow, it's actually pretty good.
And then as for new artists that are emerging on the scene, I want to go back to a conversation that I had only with a new artist in the UK called Beyond. He's just come out and he's a rapper as well. And I talked about resources like financially, whereas a lot of new artists, if they're able to kind of do the video, the social media, the artwork themselves, they're saving themselves huge amounts of money, especially when they're starting out. Is that something that you have to be conscious where it's extra pressure to kind of pick and choose which one that you want to release? And how difficult is it with you in the current market is there, especially in North America?
That's like one of the main focuses like we really have it is like the money point of it and how we're gonna budget out every release, right?
Yeah.
But like you said, like we have like a whole team now, so it makes everything like way easier. So we got Harpinder, like Rebellious Films. He's always doing our videos, so he's always killing it for us. He puts our artwork together as well too. So it's like we have like that whole team putting in all everything together, and we're just putting out like complete projects, right? Then we got Amar like mastering everything for us. So we have this team, so everything it is smooth, and then it really is. So it makes it easier for like that whole like push side of things. Okay, how should we allocate everything, right?
Now the main thing for us is to put our songs out in front of the public. ज़्यादा साडा यही focus आ कि इन्हू market चंगे तरीके नाल कीता जावे so that it can reach out to the bigger audience, on a massive scale. That's our main goal, because ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸਾਡੀ videos ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ, ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ. The only thing is ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ strategically plan ਕਰੀਏ and ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ market ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ. That's our main focus right now.
Have you experienced other artists like yourself, emerging artists, newer artists, who've got all the talent and that, but just couldn't get it over the line in terms of the talent wasn't enough? Like they had it from there, but they needed all the other exposure. Like, is that fairly common in your scene that you see?
Yeah, but I feel like if they just keep pushing, then it could happen. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times what happens is like you kind of just lose the confidence in yourself, and then when you lose the confidence and you lose the love and all that, and that's our main thing. Like we don't want to lose all the love and everything. Like once you give up, then you gave up in a way, right?
I feel like overthink ਜਦੋਂ ਕਰਨ ਲੱਗ ਪੈਣਾ, when people start overthinking us, या करिए ना करिए, इतना कर लिया करिए ना करिए, then you putting more work into just thinking about some random things, whereas you should actually focus on just writing anything. If you feel like you love your art, you love your passion, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ passion ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰੋ, and you keep on pushing it. Everything is possible you can think of. So ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ impossible ਆ. ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ put your mind into it, you can achieve anything. I feel like just keep hustling. ਤਾਂ ਇਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਇਹੀ ਕੁਝ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ. Let's see.
And like even if it's like the thing of like, oh, they didn't have enough talent, so that's why they didn't make it, right? But it's like if you keep working, eventually you're gonna get that talent. Like if I look at where I was in the beginning, I knew nothing, like nothing at all,
Same,
right?
yeah.
And now I listen to some of the songs we're making, and I was just like, it's crazy, like how much like I've improved, and it's crazy how much I keep improving too, right? So it's like I feel like if you just keep working, you keep at it, don't get too stressed about the numbers and all that, then it's anyone can really just push up into the scene.
And even ਕਈ ਵੇਲੇ ਇਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵੀ sometimes ਤੁਸੀਂ up and coming ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਗਾਣਾ ਰਿਲੀਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ obviously you just started sometimes ਕਈਆਂ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਗਾਣਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹਿੱਟ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਐਕਸਪੋਜ਼ਰ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਗਾਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਐਂਡ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਆ ਹਰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਟੈਪ ਬਾਈ ਸਟੈਪ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਮਿਲਦੀਆਂ ਆ ਕਦੀ ਵੀ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਏਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੇਲੇ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ 30 ਗਾਣਿਆਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ ਲਾਈਕ I like to mention in Sidhu's album, Sikandar Kalo, there's a rapper from India, Sikandar Kalo. He probably he done like maybe 200 ਗਾਣੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਰਿਲੀਜ਼ and then he walked ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਗਾਣੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਹੀ ਸੀਗੇ ਅੰਡਰਗਰਾਉਂਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ but he got a massive outlook on ਜਦੋਂ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਦੇ ਗਾਣੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਬਾਰੇ and ਹੁਣ ਲੋਕੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਕੀ ਗਾਣੇ ਵੀ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਪਏ so it just about just keep working hard on it ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੇ ਗਾਣੇ 23-24 ਗਾਣੇ ਆ ਗਏ ਪਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਇੰਨੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਜੇ ਸੁਣੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਾਣੇ but that doesn't mean ਸਾਡਾ music ਨਹੀਂ ਵਧੀਆ music is pretty good we knew that it's pretty cool, good music, quality music. Once our one song is gonna go, people are gonna go back and listen to all of those songs and everything's gonna keep in the same position.
As a singer, as a writer and a producer, what's the biggest thing that you've learned from the start to now where you are now?
I'm just keep learning, man. ਹਜੇ ਵੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆ I would say obviously ਤੁਸੀਂ grow ਹੁੰਨੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਰਨ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ grow ਹੋਇਆ ਮੈਂ ਕਾਫੀ new ideas ਲਿਖੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਦੀ ਸੋਚੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਲਿਖ ਸਕਦਾ and ਮੈਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਦਾ compose ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ like ਮੇਰਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ R&B ਕਰਾਂ but I did hype songs too ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ limitations ਨਹੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਰੱਖੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਤੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ I was like why can I do it ਮੈਂ ਉੱਤੇ practice ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹਦਾ ਦਾ ਲਿਖਿਆ and we released those songs and people loved it too and I'm still learning. I still feel like even after recording a bunch of songs, hundreds of songs, I still feel we don't have anything yet. I feel like I want to put more work, put more ideas and see how it goes.
Yeah, and then for me, it's mostly like I learned a lot just when it comes to just life in general, like, so just like don't overthink things. Like a lot of the times now when I'll look back, like, so I always do a thing. I always make Snapchat memories of like when I'm making beats. So then now I'm chilling, then randomly look at my memories and it's like, oh, I made this beat like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So then now when I hear it, I'm like, oh, this is actually like, it's not bad. It's pretty good. Yeah. But at the time, I remember I was always overthinking it, like, oh, it's not good. It's not this. It's not that. So then now, like, just in life, like, I just learn, like, just don't overthink things. Have like 100% confident and like confidence in everything you're doing, right? And then everything just falls in place.
Yeah. Confidence we build on that, like you keep building your confidence. The more you put work into anything you love, you build your confidence कि हाँ मैं ठीक करता मैं आया. And ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ confident ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਬਾਰੇ and then you actually sing something in front of the people feel it more. Otherwise you just keep shy ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਉਂਦੀ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ positive ਰਹੋ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ.
I'll just keep looking at your background in terms of like the whole studio setup and that. Is that your own personal studio that you set up, or?
Yeah, so just in my house. So just got the room in here. We got the mic in here, the monitors. I have all like the equipment, like keyboards and stuff too. But I don't use it. But like yeah, we have everything set up in here.
So mix mastering and that. Do you do that yourself, or do you have to outsource it as well?
No, so we do it with our buddy Amar. So he's part of our team. So then Amar, he does all the mix mastering. He raps and all that too, but he does all the mix mastering. And like for me, just my head, like it just mix mastering. That process is too crazy for me. So
for those people who don't know necessarily the difference and how important it is, can you just explain why is it so important and what's it about? What's the differences in terms from when you make a song and what mixing and mastering does to the song?
Yeah, so really it is like day and night. Like, so if you hear like our dummies, like you're gonna hear like some like the auto tune going everywhere. You hear like some of the high frequencies being too much. Like, so it's like when you get to the technical things, like you don't really understand like, oh, like high frequencies, but your ear knows like it's gonna be just in your ear, it's gonna sound weird. So like this, it really cleans up the songs for you, make sure it's all the like the levels are good. So for the volume, so like now like my snare is not gonna be just in your face and now you can't even hear Vasu, right? So we make sure everything is perfectly aligned, all the frequencies are good, nothing's clashing, and just it just makes it a better experience for your ear.
With Amar too, he's killing it right now, man. So ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਹਿਲੋਂ ਗਾਣੇ ਸੁਣੋ, ਪਹਿਲੀ album ਦੇ Broken Promises ਦੇ people were like, oh yeah, you know, your sound is pretty dull or compressed ਲੱਗਦਾ ਪਿਆ ਆ. And comparing to the latest album we done, it's like day and night difference ਆ ਗਿਆ. You know, it's pretty good.
Like we fully focused on mixing and mastering. Like these, all the songs, like some of them we made like a year ago. We just put together some songs and then we cleaned them up. But then we could have probably put out the album like maybe a month later, but we spent like 3-4 months just learning the mixing and mastering and making sure everything was perfect, because we're like, you know, that's what's gonna make it go to like the next level, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, wicked. What I wanted to say to you was, in terms of like your outlook in terms of working exclusively with together or the collaborations and stuff, is that still like one of your ideas in terms of what you want to do within the next 6 to 12 months? How does that look like for you?
Yeah, so we're always gonna be working together. Like I know that for sure. Like, you know, like us, like really, like Vasu is my brother. Like even like Amar, Harpinder, like our whole team, the whole Nameless team, we're all family. So it's like there's just no question. Like we're always gonna be working together, no matter what, and always bringing each other up, right? And then collaborations, just for sure, right? Like obviously you want to keep growing with other artists, and you want to have like some of those like dream artists that you know you want to work with them and just have fun.
Right? I think collaboration ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ grow ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ. Like let's just say you're working with another underground artist and ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ fans ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ and they have a different sound, they have a different type of audience. Like I mentioned, ਮੈਨੂੰ underground rappers ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ I would say rappers or singers like ਮੈਂ ਸਿਕੰਦਰ ਕਾਲੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ mention ਕੀਤਾ. That guy's an inspiration. Even me, ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਹਰਪਿੰਦਰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਗਾਣਾ. ਸੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਆ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੀਏ. ਐਂਡ ਆਲਸੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਨਾਰਥ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਆਰਟਿਸਟ ਆ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਗੁਰੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਇੱਕ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਗੁਰੀ ਸਮਰਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਗਾਣਾ ਕੀਤਾ. He's an underground artist, killing it. So yeah, we collaborating with a lot of people out here who are underground, and even we want to do with the mainstream guys. Obviously Karn and you know Teji Pannu and everybody out there too, so that you grow more. I don't know how to put that together. I feel like hard kise da apna sound hunda hai, the audience hundi hai, and when you collaborate together you actually grow more.
Have you had any approaches from any of the kind of the mainstream kind of bigger guys or in the scene at this moment?
Nothing's really right now. But it's just mostly just, you know, just us working together, finding other underground artists, and just all of us just kind of growing together and try to push up into that mainstream, right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully this gives you like a little bit of a seed in there, because I do get a lot of people listening from Canada, so that's pretty good. But I also know, like, for me to try and have a chance to kind of speak to you guys is also a really good sense check for people who have an ear in the industry, in terms of hearing that fresh blood and that fresh kind of enthusiasm, because you can I do turn a little bit bitter towards some of the industry, because you've been hearing about it and some things change, the politics within it, and you know, for you guys to kind of be starting out and getting all the feedback already, what you guys are achieving is pretty refreshing for me, and that's why like it's hard for me to be happy, you know, in terms of what's going up there. So you kind of mentioned your 6 to 12 months kind of plan within it now. Do you have plans for kind of touring the UK or India or anything like that?
Yeah, for the future plans for sure. Like UK does really well for us. Like when we look at our stats, like we have a lot of UK fans. So I think like without like any doubt, like we'll be there at some point, putting on shows and, you know, just touring Europe.
Every time we talk about the same thing, like a song Fantasy, that's like a second playable country as UK, and especially in London. And then especially after when you know, shout out to Bobby Friction when he played our track on BBC radio, the track Classic, And after that, we had a lot of light on our music from the UK audience, especially classic and fantasy. There was the two tracks been going crazy in UK.
I think Bobby doesn't get enough credit for that. In like Bobby Friction, for how many years is I've had him on the podcast as well, where he's been showcasing and finding new artists for a long time and giving them the chances, the exposure, and even with with E3 Entertainment in North America, doing a lot of stuff as well behind the scenes. But really appreciate in terms of for what Bobby did. How did that happen? Did he manage to speak to you guys or?
No, so E3 Entertainment, BJ, shout out to our big brother BJ. He helped us everything what's going on. So unhone gana, because he loved that track too much. Sare gaane sade pasand aa, but like there are some of the tracks he'll be like, oh yeah, you know what, this is gonna be crazy, guys.
Yeah.
So he was like, let me send it to Bobby and see his feedback. And then I think Bobby replied after like 2 weeks, I guess. He was like, this track is class. I'm definitely gonna play this on the radio and push these guys. So that's how it happened.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm your next steps. So I'm going to be looking out for you when you guys turn around in the UK and give you guys plugs, whatever you need, and help them. Definitely meet up. Take you for a mix.
And we're gonna do the podcast sitting right next to each other, man.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. What I was looking at your studio, because I'm trying to build a space in order to do it. The resources and the money, and then when you're looking at everything else, starts becoming more, because that's not a thank you you're never going to get back in it. Do you know what I mean? Because people, it's a consumer market. They'll only see what they see in front of you. They don't understand the mental behind it, the work ethic behind it. So this is called the Bhandwagon. And this is where I kind of give an opportunity to the guests. Is there any bandwagon that I want to jump on or off? Or if there's anything that they want to get off their chest, this is the space for you to do it. So individually, you can answer that.
I think you gotta hop on the Nameless bandwagon,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's it, exactly it.
Yeah.
For some kind of intro, into our next album. So yeah, we want you to actually do something.
Okay.
Right? Just do that.
No. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, brilliant. That's a deal. You sure there's nothing else that you want to say? You can say anything you like. You don't have to just say it to me.
I guess you could say just keep eyes out on our new track coming out, Flow. It should be coming out in a few weeks now, hopefully start of August. So we're gonna have a new single for you, Flow. It has a lot of summer vibes to it. And then just keep pushing forward.
After Flow, we might drop thinking, but we might drop 2 songs EP, which is gonna be again same vibes that we have released in our album, R&B, more pop, because it's an ending of summer, August, September is coming, so we just want to push it to the max with the summer vibes, more pop sounds, more R&B sounds that people can groove into it. Still a barbecue time right now these days. It's a summertime, so we don't want to miss out on that. And then in the September we might change a little bit of vibe in just R&B sad songs, but for now summer vibes for 3 or 4 songs, and I hope people like it. I hope people like it. And obviously, if I want to say that, do follow us on our Instagram pages. Official. My Instagram channel is Vasu-V official, and YouTube is Vasu-V, and Karn FWT. And yeah.
And then even for like the people who listen to our music, like I know we talked about R&B like this whole time. The hype Gani are coming too. Like we've been stockpiling on that. Like
I'm gonna hold you to that. Those are the ones that I'm gonna hold you to. No, brilliant.
I don't want to say too many things that people, so let them keep,
what I will say is just the barbecue season here in the UK has changed now. It's just constantly rain. So like instead of doing 2, 3, we might have to just drop one over here, keep the ones over there. So
100%.
No, I really appreciate it, and anything I can do to help and support. Thank you very much for taking the time out there. I know you guys have got such a busy schedule with gigs and stuff coming up now, but thank you for coming on here.
No, thank you so much, man.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So much.